So one of my favorite topics, I love talking about how we help people minimize their tax liability legally. And we've got with us this morning Martha Jo Patterson. She is an attorney, not giving legal advice on the radio. If you want legal advice, call her, elderlawmom.com, elderlawmom.com. And that's what she does to support her family. So you can hire her, get all the legal advice you want. We're just trying to give you some education here and chat about things that are going on in the marketplace. Good morning, Martha Jo.
Good morning.
So one of the topics that I thought might be of benefit, because I see this a lot leading a lending team. You probably see it more in the world of probate.
Right.
Elders, or maybe not even elders, but people transferring title from themselves to their kids. Good idea, bad idea?
Horrible idea. Never, never, never do that. So if I transfer title to my kid, now people say it's for convenience. I've just given them my house. I just gave it to them. Now I gave them my house. Now they decide that they want to live there and kick me out. And guess what? Doesn't matter that I paid for the whole house. I paid off my whole
Martha Jo,
mortgage.
no kid's
They
going to
can
do
kick me
that.
out. Really? No kid ever does that? I wish. I wish all kids were perfect children. They never lied to their parents. They never stole from their parents. Sadly, the most likely person to steal your money is your own child. as
Wow,
a
really?
number. Yeah, really. That I mean, it is family that steals from family.
I'm not sure. I read a lot of these issues on various sites, and isn't there a trust that you can set up that basically you get to live in a property? You can sell your property to somebody, and you get to live there until your final days. Maybe I'm hallucinating, but
Well, it's not a trust. I can, I can transfer my title and have a life estate.
a life estate. That's the word I was thinking about.
You can do that. Now, there's really downsides for both parties. Is once, you know, I can live there during my lifetime, but I have given title away, and
Can I sell it, or is it just a matter of giving it?
it's a gift. So I
Okay.
give my property. It's subject to a life estate. So that means that my kids can't sell it if I need to go to a nursing home or I need to go to an assisted living and I'm incompetent. You can't undo that, which could be a kind of horrible. So we used to do that for
You
Medicaid
can't.
planning.
Okay. Now we're getting to a whole nother story, right? Medicaid planning.
Right. We used to do that a lot. And then we realized that what happened was when our elders got old, they would, we would give them, they would keep the right to live in their house for their lifetime. And then they would get old and sick, and people stay an average of 3.5 years in a assisted living or nursing home. Well, then you're having to pay property taxes. Maybe you can rent it out, and that's great. That's a really better idea than selling it. But if you want to sell it now, you can't sell it because the person has the right to live there during their life. So this can cause havoc. People think it's a good idea, and that's not a good idea. So yes, we can do that, but it has to. How do you support the house when somebody is not living in it? When their paycheck is going to pay for their care and not for the taxes and the utilities in the house. People think that there's some magic program out there where you get to have the government pay for all your care and you're paying nothing. That does not exist anywhere.
Well, what's it? I don't know, and I don't know if this is something that you deal with at all, but they talk about, hear people worrying about some clawback or something like that. Is there a clawback where if the government pays for me to live in an assisted living property and I own a property, when I sell that property, I got to pay the government back or something like that?
Well, in California, and the government doesn't pay for assisted living.
Okay.
Our government only pays for those skilled nursing home cares. Those are the ones that look like hospitals.
That nobody wants to go to.
That nobody wants to go to. Exactly. Those are the ones, some of them you wouldn't put your dog there, but that's what Medi-Cal will pay for. Now, there are people who I've helped get them, and they have to be in that level of care, and I'm fine with letting the government pay for that, but it's not the first option. That's what our government pays for. So they don't pay for that. But when they are paying for that, they have the right to claw it back if you have a probate. Now, if you don't, right now, as of 2017 in California, now I say, now the other 49 states, we are so liberal in California, it's ridiculous. But so the other 49 states have different rules. So it is only California. As of 2017, if you have probate, they can get the money back. If you don't have probate, you they don't get their money back. So we want to avoid probate. So that typically is going to be, if you have a house, you're best to have a living trust to avoid probate. It is the most flexible way. I know this is self-serving because I'm an estate planning attorney and that's how I make a living, is by doing living trusts for people, but it is the best way to avoid probate and have the flexibility to, avoid all the taxes possible, and also have the flexibility whether you live or you forget to die and have dementia and need to go to that assisted living, which may be private, which all of the ones for almost everybody on the show, unless your income is below $1,732 a month as a single person, you're not getting help from our government. So
Wow. I want to talk to you more about this living trust versus probate when we come back. Continue our conversation. Attorney Martha Jo Patterson is with us, not giving legal advice, educating us. And in the last segment, we talked about giving your house to your kids. Not a smart idea. Let's talk about better solutions and what we might be looking for here. So in the last segment, Martha Jo, you made a comment about a living trust versus probate. And you would know the stats better than me. My last numbers that I was told was that, there's a small percentage, maybe 20% of the population has a living trust. And of that 20%, 80% of those are not funded properly.
That's true. So, probate is the process when you die. So it doesn't matter if you have a will. If you have more than about $186,000, your will goes to probate court.
Okay.
And I'm guaranteed a fee. And it's
you as the attorney.
As the attorney, I'm guaranteed my fee, and it's based on a mathematical formula. So
it's not like if I go shopping around, it's going to be cheaper one place or more expensive another place. It's regulated, statutory.
It's a statutory fee, so I could charge more if the judge lets me, and they're not too generous in giving us more money. So the statutory fee for $1 million house, done the math, my fee is $23,000. Now your executor is entitled to that same $23,000.
Wow. Okay.
So if the court only took $4,000 in fees and costs, you're at $50,000. Assuming your executor. Now, his executor doesn't have to take their fee. If it's your brother, they may not. But they may want their extra $23,000. They're entitled to it. They're guaranteed it.
They're doing the work.
They're doing the work. So now we're at $50,000. That's for your $1 million home. Now it's 1% more after that $1 million. So I just was at a chamber meeting, and the gal said in Yorba Linda, the average median price sold for $1.8 million. So now that would be an extra $8,000 fee for the lawyer who got that $1.8 million fee. And everybody thinks, well, all those rich people have their living trust. Jay Leno went to court because he didn't have a living trust, and his wife has dementia, and now he's having to go to court to create it because she can't sign her name anymore. Jay Leno, how rich is he? I have no idea how rich he is, but he's really, really rich. I heard that
Prince died without having a trust.
Yeah, Prince didn't have a trust. I mean, all these rich people think they're going to have their living trust.
They're going to live forever, though.
But they're going to live forever. They don't think about it. They don't think about what happens when I die. People just.
Well, the irony is the irony of that whole thing is, we talk about living trusts on Ron Siegel Radio all the time, and people think that rich people are smart or entertainers are smart.
Right.
More often than not, no, they're not very smart. So when you're taking advice from them, maybe not. Sometimes, I don't know all of them, but they may not be the smartest people in the world to take advice from.
That's also true. But, what happens?
Well, contrast that before we go too far, Martha Jo.
Yeah.
The cost of probate for that $1 million property is roughly $50,000. We'll just call it 50,000 just for round numbers.
Right.
Is a living trust going to cost me more or less than $50,000?
A whole lot less. So
by a fraction of it.
A fraction of the cost. you
Small
know,
fraction.
a small fraction. If you have solid planning without supercharged estate tax planning, it's going to be about $5,000 to really get a good living trust. Now, I know you can get the ones online for, I don't know, there's some guy on TV, $199 or something like that. I said, that's like using Drano. Now, a plumber will tell you never use Drano on your pipes. And I have this beautiful long hair and I clog up pipes. I have to call this stupid plumber and pay him, 10 times more than a bottle of Drano. But if I use that Drano, it's going to eat up my pipes and put a hole, and it's going to cost me who knows how much to fix that hole that Drano put in my pipes. The same thing can happen with your trust, and you won't know until you're dead that that trust wasn't written correctly. It failed, and 80% of trusts end up in probate court. Probate court is not just people who die without trust. They're people who die with trust and they're not funded. You talked about funding. Well, what is funding? A trust works like a wagon. So I always use this illustration because I get lots of calls and people call and say, I want to put my stuff in my wagon. Their house is in their name. They have a living trust. It works like a wagon. If my toys are in my wagon and my instructions on the handle to whoever can pull the wagon, so it can be me. When I die, it's going to be somebody other than me. They have instructions. It only controls the stuff that's in the wagon. If my house is outside the wagon and I've got an empty wagon, that trust is useless.
It's good. It's good. It's a good. It serves as a great paperweight or something to fill your bookshelf.
Yeah, and some of the ones online have really pretty notebooks, but they're, they fill up your bookshelf and there's nothing in it. So then you die and you go, my mom and dad have a living trust, and they come in with their living trust and I pull title and it says it's in your mom and dad's name. I'm going to have to go to court to put that trust, that house into your trust. And that may not be a full probate and that $23,000, but right now I have a policy. My basic living trust is about $5,000. I'm going to charge you double if you didn't do a living trust to go to court. I'm going to charge you $10,000 to go to court to get the living trust in, because it's a pain in the butt.
So and I'm going to share with you as well. I'm guessing probably half or more of the people that refinance their house, the properties are taken out of the trust because it saves $250 for have a trust review. And then when you finish the refinance, it doesn't get put back in the trust again.
That happens all the time. And then I get that call. And guess when I get the call, not realtors who are smart as you, but realtors who are new in the business. They sell the house because they see the living trust and they never pulled title. And now everybody wants to close escrow, and the title companies, they seem to pull title like a week before the close of escrow. And oh my gosh, and they think that like on TV, I can run into the judge and say, hey, judge, put this house into the trust. Orange
6
County,
to 12 months.
Orange County, it's about 4 months. LA is a little bit faster. They're getting these petitions heard in about 12 weeks. So that's still 3 months. So it's not as bad as it used to be. 4 or 5 months though in Orange County, because we had to move the probate court out of Santa Ana to Costa Mesa because they're having to get rid of the asbestos in the courthouse.
So, and they didn't have the extra space anyway. So the bottom line is you're dealing with a lot of extra money, a lot of extra headaches, all because you wanted to save a couple of bucks at the beginning. Yeah. We're going to talk more with Martha Jo Patterson, attorney, dealing elderlawmom.com. I love that website.
Yeah, and that's because I help elderly families. I help people with their elderly parents and their disabled kids, and I'm a mom, so I'm the elder law mom.
Fits perfect. Elderlawmom.com. Continue our conversation this morning. We are talking to Martha Jo Patterson, elder law attorney, and it's one of those things that there's so many problems out there right now, and one of the things that drives me bananas, and I share whenever I can, is all these scams out there taking advantage of our seniors. And it's because our seniors are vulnerable. Many of us don't, I'm not quite to the senior yet. Many don't understand all the technology that's going on. In fact, I'm wondering right now, I just saw recently that the state of California is talking about getting rid of landlines, land telephone lines. I wonder how many seniors still have landlines. And I wonder those phones that are given to seniors for free that have the big digital displays and automatically transcribe. I wonder if they need a landline. Just throw that out there for you. But we've been talking about living trusts. We've been talking about probate, and the fact that the probate is so much more expensive, so much more dangerous. So, Martha Joe, how many folks are you seeing really people where the parents have a property free and clear, they give it to the kids, and now the parents homeless?
Yeah, I got 5 calls in the last month, and I'm going, what's going on? That's part of when I saw, that you had an opportunity to come on the show. I'm going, wait a second, somebody out there is telling people add your kids onto the property. Then the kid goes bankrupt, and the bankrupt judge says, I want that property, or you give the house to your kids and they're kicking you out, and they're doing it all the time because there's no protection just because you're a senior. There's no protection because you have dementia. People think that when a person's diagnosed with dementia, suddenly, magically, they can't sign a contract. That's not true. The probate code says that you are presumed competent. So, my husband, when he had dementia and he couldn't recognize his own son and his own daughter, and probably didn't recognize me, although he pretended to, he was presumed competent. If he had signed over, he couldn't have given away our house because I had protected it. If he had signed a contract for a scammer, I would have had to prove, the presumption is rebuttable, I would have had to prove that he wasn't competent, not that he was presumed competent to sign that contract. It's a presumption. You have to overcome it, which means I have to prove he's not competent. Guess what you lose last when you have dementia? You lose last your ability to say your name, address, and social security number because you've known them for a very long time, and you lose your oldest information last.
So let me ask you this question then, because you brought this up in the prior segments. So Jay Leno, you mentioned, and his wife, it's been publicized that she's got cognitive issues.
Right.
And you said that he has to go to court to prove that she's to put their property in trust.
Right, because he waited to the point. Now, I haven't met Mavis Leno, but I met people like Mavis, and I'm guessing that she's gotten to the point where she doesn't recognize Jay anymore, and she can't sign her name, and she can't even say her name, address, and phone number. And all of a sudden, he wakes up one day and he goes, oh my, we have no children. That's in the public record. We have no children. What's going to happen if I die to our estate? We have nothing. We have no estate plan. We didn't think about doing that. We have all these attorneys, and none of them said, hey, what happens if you die, Jay? So he's having to go to court. He's having to put her under a conservatorship and then go to court her conservator to establish their legal trust because she can't sign her name anymore. Doesn't matter that he's her husband of, I think they've been married 50 years, 40 years, something.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah.
Unusual in Hollywood, but a very, very long time.
Very long time. So they're a long time marriage. It doesn't matter because just because your spouse doesn't mean you can sign your spouse's name to, legal documents. Your spouse has to. So she has totally lost her capacity to do anything. And the doctors are saying, hey, she doesn't have it. It's obvious nobody's going to let her sign her name anymore. So now we have to go to court. And that's expensive. No matter who you are, it's probably more expensive for Jay Leno because he's got more money and the attorneys are going to charge him more because he's hiring the most expensive lawyers in town probably. But I don't know who's representing him.
He's fouled up all this time, so now he's just trying to cover the bases because, when you have to pay the bill when you've been neglectful.
Yeah,
negligent.
So now he has to pay the bill. He neglected to plan. He just didn't plan. He didn't plan. Brian Wilson, I think that his wife thought she was going to outlive him, and now he's been apparently allegedly incompetent for a long time. They're having to go to court because his wife, who was taking care of all of his affairs, she died. Wife's caregivers die first all the time. People always think the person without dementia is going to outlive.
You can live a long time with dementia.
You can live a long time and you're just happily going along, not worrying about life. So you outlive the caregiver who's worried about everything because worry kills people.
Sure, that's stress. Absolutely. So the idea there is to not go through the probate, put the property into some sort of into a trust.
Right.
Now the trust can also, you can set, let me throw this at you because I think I know the answer, but you're the attorney.
Right.
The trust has a power of attorney for finance, a power of attorney for medical care. If I've got a power of attorney for finance and then I pass, what happens to my finance power of attorney?
It dies.
It dies too.
So on the day you die, your power of attorney dies with you. So if you have a power of attorney to handle your parents' bank accounts, great when they're alive. On the day they die, you can no longer take care of them because they're dead. It is personal. So they're dead. The power of attorney dies with you. So now you can't pay for the funeral because power of attorney, it died, and you can't write checks because you no longer have a job.
So should I put myself on their bank account before they pass?
Well, I add you to my bank account, Ron, so now you're on my bank account. When I pass, you get all my money. It doesn't matter if you're not even related to me. I just gave you all my money.
So how do I plan for final expenses if in the situation with the trust?
So with a living trust, so power of attorney and a trust are two very different things. So trust, it's our wagon. It holds all of our property. When we die, a new person just takes over. And if we are really smart, what we do is we have somebody walking alongside us controlling our wagon. So we die, there's no waiting period at all. We have somebody walking alongside. That's what I'm encouraging everybody to get, that person walking alongside them as they age.
So I walk into the bank with a copy of the trust and say, X died. Here's the trust. I'm the successor trustee, and then I get to step into their shoes.
If you're the name, yeah, you just have to have the death certificate. So that's really easy.
So you got to wait for the death certificate to come.
So, so there's an advantage to living trust, something that I'm recommending. So first of all, you want to avoid the probate when you die.
I want to avoid the death.
And a death, yeah. Well, we all want to avoid. But you also want to, during your lifetime, if you are starting to lose it, you're falling for every scam in the book. You might want somebody to manage your property for you. A trustee has a fiduciary duty to take care of you. A power of attorney does not.
Okay.
So, A, you want that fiduciary duty. B, you can have your kids managing but not owning your property. So if I just put my kid on the bank account, if I put Ron on my bank account, he now owns my money. That bank account is now his money and my money. That means he can steal it. That means when I die, if I have multiple kids and I put one kid, my kid who is taking care of me and doing everything, and they're on all my bank accounts, when I die, all of the money just goes automatically to them. And there's nothing the other kids can do about it. So sorry, tough luck.
Bottom line, get legal advice early. That way you're taken care of and you're protected. And, I'll share this with you. A friend of mine, I always get this wrong, but if you think that ignorance is expensive, if you think that education is expensive, going and hiring an attorney, try ignorance. It might be even more expensive. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. If you want more information, if you want to reach out to Martha Jo Patterson, elderlawmom.com, elderlawmom.com.